All right, guys, so it's been a few weeks since I got my Ecovacs GOAT. The A3000 is the robot lawnmower that I decided to purchase a couple of weeks ago. Since then, I've managed to put about 130 hours of use on the machine, and as you can see, it's been doing a really good job of maintaining the yard. But today, guys, the manual on the Ecovacs A3000 recommends that you change the blades every 80 hours. I checked them at 80 hours. They still felt pretty good, so I've been running them. But today, we're going to pull this guy in. It's 130 hours is how many hours of actual mowing time that I've logged in the app altogether now. And so today, we're going to pull this guy off the charger, and we're going to take it into the shop. Just run over and check everything on it. I'm going to clean it really good, give it a nice bath, and change the blades, get her back up and going. So if that's something you're into, guys, if you think it'll benefit you, if you're researching these things, stick around, and we're going to get into the maintenance that goes into these guys. All right, so before I get it off the charger, guys, you can see it's gotten dirty. It's got a little dust on the back of it here. It has been used. I did today end up having to clean the camera lens on the front, and I also gave the dome a little bit of a wipe down just to make sure. So that's where we're at. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to power this thing off, because the one thing that I will tell you is it gives an error, and it also will yell at you if you don't power it off before you go to toting it around. I'm going to take it off the charger. See, I'm still a rookie with this thing, but I'm going to hold this power button down until it dies, because I do know that works. Okay, so there we go. Holding the power button down. She is unconscious at this time, so we're going to go ahead and get ready to take it out to the shop. All right, guys, so the ones of you that have not been introduced to the Clack Shack, this is it. This is my shop. I do lots of other things in here, laser, CNC, woodworking. But anyway, there's a whole channel full of that stuff if you want to go check it out. There'll be a link down below where you can go check out any of the shop videos that you're interested in. But let's get back to servicing and doing a little checkup on our friendly neighborhood grass cutting robot. So the first thing that I will say, guys, is when you unpack the machine, I hope you didn't throw this away, because you're going to need to make sure to keep this handy. And I would recommend, while working on your robot, just go ahead and put that on there so that you don't accidentally damage that little LiDAR dome. That is a very critical, sensitive piece of equipment that needs to be protected. So now that we've got that on there, I'm going to take the machine, and for the blade servicing and stuff, I just want to stand it up. Now, I would make sure that you're not around any dogs, pets, small children, anything like that that can knock this over. I do have cats. Hopefully, they won't be messing with us while we do this. But you can take the machine and just, like I said, it's still powered off. You can take the machine and stand it up. And the back part of the machine will actually kind of act as a bit of a kickstand, so you can get it in this position. And so I'm going to move the camera over, and we're going to dive in here, check everything, service it, put some new blades on, and get her back going. All right, so in case you haven't looked under the hood of your lawnmower, this is what you've got. You've got these two discs right here, basically, that are just points of attachment for the cutting blades, and they spin. They're kind of, dish shaped. Nothing too elaborate to speak about. One thing that you're going to want to do when you're doing this is make sure behind here, make sure you don't have any string, wires, vines, or anything like that wrapped around these spindles. And if you do, you may actually have to take the spindle off to get that out of there. But usually you should be able to use a pair of pliers or something to reach in there and just pull that thing and unwind it while you've got it in this configuration. Now, I will say it's not a bad idea to go ahead and hit the emergency stop button while it's in this configuration, but you did see I powered mine down completely. I haven't pulled the battery or anything like that, but we should be good as long as nobody's playing with any of the buttons over there. So upon getting under here, like I said, I want to do like a visual, just a visual look into everything. There's some bolts and screws around through there. You're going to want to make sure none of this stuff's vibrated loose. It is a new piece of equipment. In my case, this is the first time I've been under it in this manner. I had lifted it up, checked the blades a few times, but this is the first time I've had it stood up like this where I could check everything. Nothing's damaged. I don't see anything that's broken off, or like I said, strings wrapped around the wheels or anything like that. So all that stuff looks good. A little dirty and well used, but you're going to need, and I found with these blades, I'm having better luck with a flathead screwdriver. So get yourself a good flathead screwdriver to be able to get these off. The good thing about it is when Ecovacs ships you your machine, it comes with this little bag of extra screws for the drivetrain, as well as a box of replacement blades. So that's what we're going to do. I'm not going to replace all of the screws per se, but I'm going to replace at least that one that's damaged. So we'll go ahead and pop that guy out of there so that we can look at it, and hopefully it didn't mess up the flywheel or anything, the spindle. Hopefully it's just that screw, and we can replace it and everything will be okay. So let me grab that. All right, so you can see here that screw has seen its better days. So we're going to be trashing that one, get rid of it. Don't need that going back in there. As far as the blades goes, guys, this thing's it's not razor blade sharp anymore, but you can see they're not in terrible shape, but I will be replacing them. The manual says to replace these after 80 hours of use, and I'm at about 130, so we're good to go. These things are relatively cheap on Amazon, so we're going to be replacing them. The new blades, hopefully, I can get 80 to 100 hours out of them and get a little more bang for my buck. But to be honest, the 80 hours of runtime was pretty substantial. Oh, these guys right here are sharp. Yeah, okay, so these, you may want to wear gloves, guys. I'm going to be honest with you. If you don't have thick finger skin, you may want to wear some gloves. These are really, really sharp. So compared to the ones that I'm taking off, yeah, this is like a butter knife. This is definitely much sharper. So what I'm going to do, and this is, like I said, this is my approach. Do however you please. But I'm going to get the blade on there, and I'm going to get the screw started with my fingers. I'm not going to try to use the screwdriver right out of the gate because I don't want to take a chance on cross threading the screw as I go back on there with it or anything like that. So once I got that started, it started on there really nice. I'm going to go ahead and take my flathead screwdriver, and I'm going to tighten this all the way down. The one thing that you need to make sure of, if you've never done this before, is there's a shoulder on the flywheel that this screw is going to stop before it pinches that blade. What you don't want is you don't want that blade pinched to where it can't freely rotate. All right, you want this blade to be able to maneuver as the spindle turns. So we got that one on there. I got that snug down nice and snug. I'm not going to try to tighten them too tight. I don't want to break anything, and I don't know that it's needed. Typically speaking, these things should, the centrifugal force should help keep them tight, but they do come with a touch of thread lock on them, but it really doesn't look like it's interacting a whole lot with the thread lock there. It's kind of still in place. So it wouldn't be a bad idea to periodically check to make sure that these things aren't working their way loose, because you could damage this little flywheel or this little blade holder here and cause yourself some trouble. Like I said, I'm not changing all of the screws out. The pack of blades that I've got came with a few extra screws, but I don't think the purpose was to change the screws with every blade. So we're just going to change them as needed. If I've got a screw that's damaged, the head of it's worn down, then I will change it. But other than that, I think they're going to be fine. Wouldn't be a bad idea to put a little bit of thread locker on these as you go back with them. I'm not going to, because like I said, these still have a little bit on them. Cheap alternative for you guys that maybe don't do a lot of mechanical stuff, if your wife has some fingernail polish sitting around that she doesn't use anymore, fingernail polish is a really good substitute for thread locker if you don't want to go out and buy any. I've used it for years on, you know, less critical things. Now, if you're in automotive where it's going to get really hot or something, I probably wouldn't. But for less critical things, it works really well. So these little guys are very sharp, so be careful. You may want to wear gloves. Like I said, if your hands are, especially if your hands cut easily, you may want to wear gloves or use a magnet or something to pick these guys up because they are definitely sharp. You don't want to get hit with these, I can tell you that now. So, kind of took for granted that these would be like regular lawnmower blades, but they're much sharper than that. So I'm going to hold that still. Like I said, I'm making sure that the blade isn't between the shoulder and the screw, because, you know, if you do put the blade between the shoulder and the screw, you're not going to have the screw tightened down all the way, and that could allow it to come loose. So, like I said, and be careful when you're tightening these guys, because if your hand were to slip, you would cut yourself pretty bad. So gloves definitely are strongly recommended. And I know I'm not wearing gloves, but I don't do well with gloves on. I probably would cut myself quicker wearing gloves than I will without them. So we're gonna push on. But it's kind of a rinse and repeat type thing with these blades. Like I said, none of these have been damaged so far. They're definitely not as sharp as these replacement blades are, but so far they all look to be in good condition. So that's good, because I do have very sandy soil here and have a lot of little sandstones. I try to watch the machine when I'm doing new areas. I try to stay close and keep an eye on it just in case it gets into some rocks or something. But while I'm at work or while I'm in the house, you know, the whole objective of having this thing is so that I don't have to sit out there while it's cutting the grass. And so, you know, I can't vouch for the fact that it hasn't hit a few rocks. But look at the blades. I'm going to say it's done a pretty good job of avoiding them. So, that screw's a little snug. So I got a nice pop taking that one out, so that's good. It means it was secured. One thing that I would recommend against, it's very tempting, guys. I got plenty of you know, power tools and like impacts and stuff like that. It's very tempting when you're having to work with, you know, a handful of screws and stuff, is to go grab a piece of a power tool of some type and get after these things. But I will tell you, I would not recommend it with this, because if you did over tighten one of these screws and bust this little blade holder, it would end up costing you way more than it's worth to just use a regular screwdriver. So, working on the last one now, getting it snugged up. Like I said, very simplistic setup. I like the fact that the machine kind of holds itself up, and it acts as kind of like its own little kickstand, so to speak. But everything else, as you can see, everything else looks good. It's worn, it's been used, but guys, it runs around in the grass. Sometimes it's wet. It also, the little wheels seem to be doing a really good job. And yeah, so this part looks good. We're gonna set it back down and just clean and kind of look over everything else on the top side here before we put it back in service. All right, guys, so after that, I've got plenty of screws left over. I think I've actually got 11 screws, and then I've got 6 more blades as well. So you could, if you chose to, go ahead and change out all the screws as well as the blades. I'm just, call me stingy, call me frugal, whatever the case may be, but I'm going to run those screws at least one more time before I swap those out, because I'm not 100% sure if the aftermarket blades that you're going to get on Amazon are going to come with the extra screws. So we're just going to hang on to those for future use. Now, on the outside of the machine, there's really, other than just cosmetics, it really doesn't matter about the rest of this getting dirty and dingy or so forth. The things that you want to make sure stay clean are going to be your LiDAR dome here, as well as the cameras in the front. So that's really the only two critical parts to worry about. The rest of this is just kind of cosmetic. Now, I don't want my robot running around looking really bad, so we're going to take, and I'm going to go ahead and kind of wipe him down a little bit here. And all right, so I cheated, and it's not light, but it's not terribly heavy. Probably, what, 40 pounds or so. So brought it over here with the buggy, and we're going to set it over here back on the charger. If you lift it up from the back, it's easy to roll because of those coasters on the front. So I'm going to pick it up, and we're going to take it over here and put it back on its charger. All right, so good news is we made it back to the charger. Now I'm going to sit the front wheels down on the charger and just kind of slide it. I'm not going to go ahead and push it all the way in just yet. I want to go ahead and power it up first by holding the power button. And I'm going to let it run through its boot sequence. Once it runs through the boot sequence, then I can go ahead and shove it up into the base. And we're going to go ahead and send it back out, make sure everything's good for it to start mowing. But I'm going to take that cover off and go put that thing up where I know where it's at and get that started. All right, so once you power it back up, guys, you're going to have to put your pin code in. And I'm not letting you guys see that. All right, I pushed it on up into the charger, and it's back connected. Looks like the Wi-Fi is stable on it, so we're good to go. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can send it out now. All right, so back in the app, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to set it to do an area. It's not going to have time to finish it, but I'm going to go ahead and set one.
Head to the designated area to mow.
And just make sure everything works the way it should. So there we go. It's sending it to it. It should be coming out of the station here in a second. So there you go, guys. It's as simple as powering it up. You're going to need to pull it out of the station, power it off, do your maintenance, bring it back to the station, sit it on the ramp to the station, power it on, put your security pin code in, and then once you do that, everything boots back up. You're good to go and off to do some grass cutting. So there we go. And it's got nice sharp blades now, so we shouldn't have any problem with grass cutting now. All right, guys, so there you have it. I'm going to call that probably 15 minutes worth of maintenance. And that a lot of that was just getting it to the shop and getting it back out here. So relatively simple, not a big, complicated process. The machine had no issues as a result of the maintenance. It looks like new money now. Like, it is nice and shiny again, just with some Windex. It's back to basically factory, except for those few little bumpy and boo-boos it's got right there from running into random stuff with that front corner. But all in all, guys, the machine has been keeping this yard pretty well maintained. Yes, I'm having to use the lawnmower occasionally in some of these rougher areas and some of this overnight bahia that pops up from time to time. I'll have to touch up every couple of weeks. But so far, it's doing a great job. And yeah, very pleased with it. So there you go. I haven't seen any videos on this particular one, but I will say too that this process, a lot of you may know that the A2500, other than the LiDAR, the A2500 is the same chassis for the most part. From what I've read, there's very minimal differences between the two machines. And so this process would be basically the same for the 2500, with the exception of not having to clean the LiDAR dome because it doesn't have one. So there you go. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I hope the video is helpful. If you have the Ecovacs, either the A3000, the A2500, if you have any of the Ecovacs, let me know what you think about them. I'm really considering getting me another one because I've maxed this one out. I've got this one maxed out at 30,000 square feet, and I can't go any higher. So I've thought about trying the 2500 RTK, and that way, if there's any spots that, let's say, the 2500 struggles with here, with all the trees and stuff that I have, then I could let this guy get those areas and use the 2500 to do the areas that are kind of open with no tree cover and not up against the side of the house. So that is on my mind. I am considering that. So if you have the 2500, let me know. Let me know what you think about it. How's the RTK working for you, so that I can make a better decision on which way I'm going to go with this situation. So, but until next time, guys, if you have any questions, feel free to drop a comment down below. If you hadn't already, hit that subscribe button. And until next time, be safe and have a good day.